I'm holding a potato. At a roadside produce stand in America, this thing might sell for less than $1 a pound. Nothing special. Nobody takes a picture of it. Nobody brags about buying it. It's just a potato. But if I slice that same potato thin, fry it, salt it, and drop it into a glossy bag with smart branding, now it becomes potato chips. Suddenly, people will pay a premium. And if I take that same basic crop, ferment it, distill it, pour it into a heavy glass bottle, give it a clean label, and position it as a premium imported vodka, now we're in a completely different universe of pricing. Same agricultural input, different form, different market, different story. And hidden inside that transformation is one of the most brutal wealth laws in the world. It's a law Warren Buffett used to build billions. It's a law economists have been trying to explain for more than a century. And it's a law that most people will go their entire lives without fully understanding. So today, let's use one simple potato to break down the real logic behind income growth, wealth creation, and why so many hardworking people stay stuck no matter how hard they grind. Here's the first question. Why is the potato the cheapest version? Because the barrier to entry is too low. Almost anyone can grow potatoes. Almost anyone can sell potatoes. And if one person stops, there are thousands of others ready to step in. In economics, that's what we call a highly competitive market. When lots of people can offer basically the same thing, price gets pushed down toward the minimum survivable level. That's not evil. That's not personal. That's the market. And the part that should make you uncomfortable is this. For a lot of people, their labor works exactly the same way. If what you do can be replaced quickly, trained quickly, copied quickly, or outsourced quickly, then the market will eventually treat your effort like a commodity. It won't matter that you work hard. It won't matter that you're sincere. It won't even matter that you're exhausted. The market is not paying you for how tired you are. It is paying you for how scarce and valuable your output is. That's why two people can both work 10 hours a day and end up in completely different financial realities. Peter Drucker warned about this decades ago when he talked about the shift from manual labor to knowledge work. His point was simple. In a modern economy, the most vulnerable workers are the ones who only have labor to sell. If all you can trade is time and effort, then your ceiling gets set much earlier than you think. And that's the first brutal truth. If you are only selling raw effort, your hard work is being averaged out by the market. You can polish the potato all you want. You can wash it, stack it neatly, smile while you sell it, and even work longer hours than everyone around you. But at the end of the day, it's still a potato. A lot of people are living this right now. Maybe you're making decent money on paper. Maybe your salary even looks respectable from the outside. But you're tired all the time. Your calendar is full. Your income depends on you showing up. You can't really unplug. You can't really slow down. And if you stop moving, the money slows down too. So how do most people try to escape that trap? They learn a skill. They go back to school. They get certified. They switch careers. They become a designer, a software developer, a video editor, a nurse, a consultant, a copywriter, a marketer, an accountant. In other words, they stop selling potatoes and start selling potato chips. That's an upgrade, a real one. Because the moment you have a skill that fewer people can deliver well, your income can jump fast. Instead of competing with everyone, you're competing with a smaller group. The market will usually reward that. And this is where many people feel like they've finally figured it out. Get skilled, get paid more, problem solved. Except it's not. Because Adam Smith pointed this out a very long time ago. Skilled workers earn more than unskilled workers, but they still carry a fatal weakness. When their hands stop, their income stops. You can be a great plumber, a top therapist, a brilliant attorney, a sought-after freelancer, or a high-level coder. You can absolutely out-earn the average worker, but you are still trapped inside one unbreakable law. You only get 24 hours a day. You can only take so many clients. You can only work so many shifts. You can only write so many lines of code, cut so many videos, close so many deals, or perform so many procedures before your energy becomes the bottleneck. That is the second ceiling. You're no longer a commodity in the same way, but you are still handcuffed to time. This is why so many high-income professionals secretly feel poor. Not broke, poor. There's a difference. A broke person doesn't have money. A poor person may have money coming in, but no freedom, no margin, no leverage, and no system that works without them. Think about the freelance creative making $150,000 a year but unable to take 2 weeks off. Think about the dentist with a beautiful practice but non-stop overhead, staff issues, and zero income if the schedule goes empty. Think about the consultant billing $250 an hour who still has to wake up every morning and sell hours to keep the machine alive. That is a higher level than selling potatoes, yes. But it is still not real leverage. You are selling chips now, not the raw crop, but you are still packaging your labor in units. The market consumes one at a time. And this is where the real top players separate themselves. They don't sell the potato. They don't just sell the chips. They sell the vodka. What does that mean? It means they stop competing mainly on labor and start competing on perception, positioning, trust, systems, and scale. Back in 1899, economist Thorstein Veblen wrote about what we now call conspicuous consumption. People don't only buy expensive things because they function better, but often they buy them because the price itself sends a signal. The cost becomes part of the appeal. The product says something about the buyer. That's the Veblen effect. At the highest level, people are not paying for utility alone. Idea D, they are paying for identity, status, certainty, belonging, taste, aspiration, and story. You think premium vodka is just alcohol? Not really. It's packaging, it's design, it's exclusivity, it's where it sits on the shelf. It's whether people order it in a nightclub, gift it at a corporate event, or display it on a home bar. It's the feeling that the buyer knows something, has taste, has arrived. The liquid matters, but the meaning matters more. And the same pattern shows up everywhere in business. Coca-Cola is not just selling sugar water. Apple is not just selling a phone. Nike is not just selling shoes. A luxury hotel is not just renting a bed for the night. An elite university is not just selling information. The product is only part of it. The premium comes from perception, brand, trust, and the emotional shortcut people make in their minds. Warren Buffett has spent his entire career looking for companies with this exact power. He calls it a moat. A real business moat is the ability to make customers willingly pay more, come back again, and resist switching even when cheaper alternatives exist. That is not just operational strength. That is psychological strength. And here's why this matters so much for your life. At the third level, the game changes from how hard do I work to what exactly am I making people believe? That may sound manipulative, but it isn't necessarily. In fact, the cleanest version of this is one of the most ethical things you can do. Become so clear, so useful, so trusted, and so distinct that people prefer you before you even enter the room. That's what strong positioning does. That's what reputation does. That's what a body of work does. That's what intellectual property does. That's what systems do. That's what media does. That's what brand does. And this is where most ordinary people make a huge mistake. They hear all this and think, sure, that works for giant companies. But I'm just a normal person. I'm not building Apple. I'm not launching a vodka brand. How am I supposed to sell perception? But that question itself reveals the misunderstanding. You are already selling something. The only question is whether you know what it is. If you walk into a job interview, you are selling a story about your reliability, judgment, and potential. If you run a small business, you are selling trust before you ever sell the service. If you post online, you are training the market how to think about you. If you're a manager, a coach, a creator, an advisor, or a founder, you are in the business of shaping belief whether you realize it or not. The people who win are usually not the ones doing the most work. They are the ones who make their work easiest to value. That's a completely different skill. Let me make this practical. From today forward, Ask yourself 3 questions. The first question is this: if someone else replaced me tomorrow, could they do what I do without much difference? If the answer is yes, then you are still selling potatoes. That doesn't mean you're untalented. It doesn't mean your work doesn't matter. It means the market does not see enough uniqueness in your output yet. You are still too easy to substitute. And substitution is deadly for income. Because if the buyer sees 5 nearly identical options, the conversation quickly turns into one thing: price. That's true in labor markets, it's true in business, it's true in content, it's true almost everywhere. The second question is this: do I have anything that can outlive my hours? This is the dividing line between skilled labor and scalable value. If all you have is time, you are still working a piece rate system, even if the piece is expensive. But if you have assets, real assets, then the game changes. A great article can keep attracting readers long after you wrote it. A YouTube video can keep earning while you sleep. A course can sell without you being live on a Zoom call. A software tool can help 10,000 people at once. A newsletter can build recurring attention. A process can be taught to a team. A brand can close deals before the sales call starts. These are your bottles. These are the things you distill from your experience. These are the containers that hold your value after your time is gone. And notice something important here. The asset does not have to be huge at the beginning. A lot of people delay building assets because they imagine they need a massive audience, a polished product, a perfect brand, or investor money. That's not true. Your first asset might be a simple framework you teach repeatedly. Your first asset might be a spreadsheet template. Your first asset might be a strong local reputation in a very specific niche. Your first asset might be a collection of case studies, proving you solve one painful problem better than the next person. It doesn't have to be glamorous. It just has to be transferable. The third question is this: where am I building trust? Because trust is one of the few assets that does not depreciate when the economy gets noisy. Charlie Munger and Warren Buffett both obsessed over character, not just intelligence. Buffett has said many times that he looks for integrity first. Why? Because trust lowers friction. Trust lowers selling costs. Trust lowers resistance. Trust increases referrals. Trust buys patience. Trust gives you a second chance when others don't get one. And for ordinary people, trust is one of the most undervalued forms of capital on earth. You may not have millions of dollars. You may not have elite credentials. You may not have a huge platform, but if 100 people genuinely trust your judgment, your consistency, and your intentions, you are already holding something extremely valuable. Because 100 trusting people can become your first customers, your first clients, your first referrals, your first supporters, your first believers, and eventually the foundation of your financial independence. That is not small. That is seed capital in human form. Now here's the part most people don't want to hear. The reason many talented people stay stuck is not because they lack ability. It's because they keep using all their ability at the wrong level. They spend years trying to become a shinier potato. They work harder at a replaceable job. They perfect execution in a market that doesn't reward uniqueness. They become excellent at tasks with weak leverage. They chase income but ignore positioning. They improve output but never package meaning. They collect skills but never build assets. They learn how to do the work, but not how to make the market recognize the value of the work. That's why effort alone stops working after a while. At first, effort matters enormously. You need discipline, you need competence, you need reliability. You need to become good at something. But after a certain point, more effort without more leverage starts producing diminishing returns. You do more. You earn a little more. You burn out faster. You repeat. This is the cycle a lot of Americans are trapped in right now. They get a raise, but inflation eats part of it. They pick up a side hustle, but their weekends disappear. They become more employable, but not more free. They make more money, but their financial stress doesn't really leave because the structure of their income hasn't changed. That's why the real breakthrough is not just earning more per hour. It's building a life where not every dollar must be personally hand-carried by your next hour of labor. That may mean building a business. It may mean creating content. It may mean investing steadily in broad index funds while slowly increasing your earning power. It may mean turning your expertise into systems, products, or media. It may mean becoming known for one thing so clearly that people stop asking what you charge and start asking whether you have availability. Different path, same principle. Move up the value chain. Stop selling raw input when you can sell processed value. Stop selling processed value when you can sell trusted positioning. Stop selling trusted positioning alone when you can attach it to systems and assets that scale. And let me be clear, this is not an argument for pretending to be fancy. A lot of people hear brand and think fake. They hear positioning and think manipulation. They hear perception and think shallow marketing. That's the cheap version. The real version is better than that. The real version is becoming genuinely valuable, then making that value legible to the market. That is a service. If you can solve a painful problem, communicate it clearly, package it intelligently, and deliver it consistently, you deserve to be paid more than the person who only offers generic effort. That is not greed. That is value creation. So if you feel stuck right now, don't start by asking, how can I work harder? Ask better questions. What part of my work is still a commodity? What skill am I using that is valuable but not scalable? What proof of value do I own? What can I create once? That helps me more than once. What do people trust me for? What problem can I become known for solving? What identity am I accidentally teaching the market to assign to me? Those questions matter because macro conditions will never fully cooperate. The economy will change. Industries will shift. AI will replace some tasks. Recessions will come. Competition will intensify. None of us controls that. Munger said something powerful. The big forces of the world are not under your control, but your decisions at the micro level still matter enormously. You may not be able to change the era, but you can change your strategy inside the era. You can decide whether you will stay raw input, become skilled output, or start building leveraged value. You can decide whether your entire future will depend on being present every day, or whether some part of your effort will begin compounding. You can decide whether your talent will remain buried in the ground like a crop, or whether you will refine it into something the market sees, wants, remembers, and pays for differently. And that is the real point of the potato. The tragedy of modern work is not that most people are lazy. It's that many hardworking people spend their best years making the raw material slightly better, when they should be learning how to transform the category altogether. They make the potato cleaner. They make the potato shinier. They stack the potato faster. They deliver the potato with better customer service. But they never stop long enough to ask whether they should still be in the potato business at all. So here's the message I want to leave you with. Do not keep selling your time by the pound if your mind is capable of distillation. Even if all you can do right now is create one drop of leverage a day, do it. One page, one framework, one email list subscriber, one strong client result, one piece of content, one repeatable process, one honest relationship, one small asset that can work after you stop. That may not look dramatic this week, but give it a year, and you may find that while everyone else kept hauling sacks of potatoes, you quietly built a cellar. And once you have a cellar, your life starts to change. Because now you are no longer forced to sell everything immediately just to survive. Now you have inventory. Now you have options. Now you have pricing power. Now you have breathing room. Now the market meets a version of you that is more than labor. So don't let your talent rot in the dirt. Don't spend another decade proving how much you can carry, when the real opportunity is learning how to refine, package, and scale what you already know. Stop asking only, how can I earn more? Start asking, what am I really selling? Because the answer to that question will determine whether you stay a potato, become a bag of chips, or one day turn into something the world is willing to value at a completely different level.